Kieran Matthews secured the glass doors of Matthews Financial Group and paused, taking in the sight of the deserted lobby. The Christmas tree, a project spearheaded by his assistant, stood radiantly in the corner, its silver ornaments perfectly complementing the building's sleek, modern design. The space exuded success, from the polished marble floors to the meticulously chosen designer furniture and the prestigious awards displayed along the walls. At 39, Kieran had meticulously crafted the life he had envisioned. He was the CEO of one of the city's most prominent investment firms, residing in a penthouse apartment that offered panoramic views, and possessing the financial means to acquire anything his heart desired. His image graced the pages of business magazines regularly, always accompanied by the same confident smile, projecting an air of competence and unwavering control. It was Christmas Eve, and he was the last individual remaining in the building. His employees had departed hours earlier, eagerly heading home to their families, holiday gatherings, and cherished traditions. Kieran had lingered, knowing that only expensive furniture and silence awaited him at home. His parents had retired to Florida 5 years prior, and he saw them perhaps once a year. His younger sister resided in London with her family, and while they exchanged polite messages, their bond was not particularly close. Over the years, there had been relationships, but none had endured his unwavering dedication to work, his inability to prioritize anything above the next lucrative deal or acquisition. The snow had begun to fall several hours ago, and now it enveloped the city in a pristine white blanket. Kieran tightened his coat as he stepped out into the cold, the frigid air nipping at his face. The streets were unusually quiet, with most people already at home or en route. The holiday lights reflected off the snow-covered ground, creating a picturesque scene that would have been beautiful if Kieran had felt anything other than emptiness. He was walking toward his parked car when he noticed her, a young woman huddled in the doorway of a closed storefront, seeking refuge from the wind. She wore a thin coat that provided inadequate protection from the harsh weather, and her blonde hair was damp from melted snow. She appeared to be in her late 20s, and even from a distance, Kieran could see that she was shivering. Most people passed her by without so much as a glance, preoccupied with their own holiday festivities. Kieran almost did the same. It wasn't that he lacked empathy, but what could he realistically do? Offer her some money, experience a fleeting moment of self-satisfaction, and then return to his own insulated existence? But something compelled him to stop. Perhaps it was the significance of the holiday, the weight of facing another Christmas completely alone. Or maybe it was the way she seemed to shrink into herself, attempting to become invisible, as if apologizing for occupying space in the world. "Excuse me," Kieran said, crouching down to meet her gaze. "Are you all right?" The woman looked up, and Kieran was struck by the clarity of her eyes, a captivating blend of blue and green that conveyed both weariness and exhaustion. "I'm fine, thank you." "You don't look fine. You look freezing. When did you last eat?" "I'm managing," she said, her pride evident despite her circumstances. "I don't need charity." "It's Christmas Eve," Kieran said. "Nobody should be alone on the street on Christmas Eve. At least let me buy you a warm meal." The woman studied his face intently for a long moment, trying to discern whether he was sincere or potentially dangerous. Finally, she said, "Why do you care? Most people don't even see me." "Maybe because I understand what it's like to be invisible," Kieran replied, surprising himself with his honesty. They discovered an all-night diner a few blocks away, one of the few establishments that remained open. As the woman, who introduced herself as Emma, began to thaw out over coffee and hot soup, Kieran learned about her story. She had been a teacher before her life took a turn for the worse. Her fiancé had died in a car accident 2 years prior, and the grief had consumed her. She had lost her job, then her apartment, and ultimately her sense of stability. For the past 8 months, she had been living on the streets, working odd jobs whenever possible, and attempting to save enough money to get back on her feet. "I know I look like a failure," Emma said, stirring her soup without eating it, "like someone who made terrible choices and deserves what happened to her." "That's not what I see," Kieran said quietly. I see someone who's been through something devastating and is still trying to survive. Surviving isn't the same as living, Emma said with a sad smile. I just exist day to day trying to stay warm, fed, and safe. I can't even remember what it felt like to have purpose or hope or a future. Kieran felt those words resonate deeply within him. Wasn't that precisely how he had been living? Going through the motions of success while feeling nothing, existing instead of actually living. Where will you go tonight? He asked. There's a shelter about a mile from here, Emma said. If they still have beds available. If not, I'll find somewhere. Kieran looked out the window at the snow, which was now falling with greater intensity. The temperature had dropped significantly, and the news had been warning of a dangerous cold front approaching. Allowing Emma to walk to a shelter that might be full, leaving her to fend for herself in such harsh conditions, felt unconscionable. Come stay at my place, Kieran heard himself say. Emma's eyes widened in surprise. What? No, I couldn't. I have a 3-bedroom penthouse, and I live there alone, Kieran continued. You can have your own room with a lock on the door. Hot shower, warm bed, safe space. Just for tonight. Tomorrow is Christmas, and you can decide what you want to do. But tonight you shouldn't be on the streets in this cold. You don't even know me, Emma protested. I could rob you or something. You could, Kieran agreed. But I don't think you will. And honestly, everything in my apartment is just stuff. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you'll be safe and warm. Emma looked at him, tears welling up in her eyes. Why are you doing this? Because it's Christmas Eve, and I was going home to an empty apartment to eat takeout alone, and pretend I don't notice that my life is as empty as the plates I'll throw away tomorrow, Kieran said with brutal honesty. Because maybe helping you helps me, too. Because can you stay for just one night, and maybe we'll both feel a little less alone? Emma was quiet for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Just one night. Kieran's penthouse was everything Emma had imagined wealthy people lived in, and nothing like anything she had ever experienced. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the city, sparkling with Christmas lights and freshly fallen snow. The furniture looked as if it belonged in the pages of a design magazine. Everything was pristine, flawless, and utterly devoid of personality. It's beautiful, Emma said softly. It's cold, Kieran replied. I never really made it a home, just a place I sleep between workdays. He led Emma to the guest room, which had its own ensuite bathroom. He provided her with towels, showed her the amenities, and left her to shower and settle in. He had laid out some of his clean clothes for her to sleep in, as her own were damp and worn. An hour later, Emma emerged, dressed in his sweatpants and an oversized sweater, her hair clean and drying, appearing more like herself and less like someone who had been slowly fading away. The transformation was remarkable. I forgot what hot water felt like, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I forgot what it felt like to be clean. They settled in Kieran's living room, the city lights twinkling beyond the expansive windows. Kieran had ordered Chinese takeout, one of the few establishments still open, and they ate together in comfortable silence. Tell me about your fiancé, Kieran said gently, and Emma obliged. She shared stories about David, their wedding plans, and their aspirations to start a family, recounting how he had been taken from her just 2 months before their wedding by a drunk driver. She described the downward spiral that ensued, the all-consuming depression that had swallowed her whole. She had pushed away everyone who had tried to help her, until there was no one left. I couldn't save him, Emma whispered, and I couldn't save myself either. Maybe you don't need to save yourself, Kieran said. Maybe you just need to take one step forward, then another, until you remember how to walk again. Is that what you're doing? Emma asked. Walking. I'm standing still, Kieran admitted. I've been standing still for years, building things and acquiring things and achieving things, but never actually moving toward anything that matters. What would matter? Emma asked. Connection, Kieran said. Purpose beyond profit margins. Coming home to someone who cares whether I had a good day. Having someone to care about in return. All the things I told myself I didn't need because I was too busy building success. They talked late into the night, two lonely souls who had found each other on Christmas Eve and discovered they had more in common than either had anticipated. Emma shared stories about her students, the joy of teaching, and how much she missed it. Kieran spoke of his parents and sister, how he had allowed those relationships to deteriorate because he was always too preoccupied with work for visits or phone calls. As dawn approached on Christmas morning, Emma said, "I should go. You've done more than enough." "What if you didn't go?" Kieran asked. "What if you stayed a few more days, got your strength back, figured out your next steps from a place of stability instead of desperation?" "Kieran, I can't take advantage of your kindness." "You're not taking advantage. I'm asking, stay through New Year's at least. Let me help you get back on your feet. I have connections. I can help you find a job, get you set up with proper housing. Consider it my Christmas present to myself. Doing something that actually matters." Emma studied his face in the early morning light. "What do you get out of this?" "The chance to not be alone," Kieran said simply. "The chance to help someone and maybe remember what it feels like to care about something beyond my next quarterly report. The chance to have a friend who sees me as just a person, not as a CEO or a bank account." Emma stayed. One night turned into a week, then two. Kieran assisted her in getting her documents in order, connected her with his HR department, who were seeking someone with teaching experience for their employee training programs. He helped her find a small but affordable apartment and co-signed her lease when she lacked credit history. But beyond the practical assistance, they helped each other heal. Emma reminded Kieran of the importance of caring about another person's well-being, of having someone to share morning coffee with, and of the small moments that made life worthwhile. Kieran provided Emma with the stability and support she needed to rebuild her sense of self-worth, to remember that one tragedy did not define her entire existence. "I think I was meant to find you," Emma said one evening, about a month after that first Christmas Eve. They were cooking dinner together in Kieran's kitchen, a ritual they had established. "Or maybe you were meant to find me. Maybe we were meant to find each other," Kieran replied. Two people who had forgotten how to live, reminding each other what matters. Their relationship evolved slowly, carefully. Kieran was mindful not to exploit Emma's vulnerable position, and Emma was careful not to confuse gratitude with deeper feelings. But over time, something genuine blossomed between them, built on mutual respect, understanding, and the kind of intimacy that comes from truly seeing each other. A year after that snowy Christmas Eve, they were married in a simple ceremony. Emma had resumed her career, teaching corporate training and loving every minute of it. Kieran had reduced his work hours and began to truly live in his penthouse instead of merely sleeping there. They had transformed it into a home together, filling it with warmth, laughter, and the kind of love that can only come from two people who have learned what truly matters. On their first Christmas together as a married couple, as they sat watching the snow fall over the city, Emma said, "Do you remember what you said that first night? Can you stay for just one night?" "I remember," Kieran said, holding her close. "I stayed for just one night," Emma continued, "and then another and another until one night became forever. You saved my life that Christmas Eve." "You saved mine too," Kieran replied. "I was drowning in success and suffocating from loneliness. You showed me that everything I'd built meant nothing without someone to share it with. Because sometimes the greatest gifts come wrapped in the most unexpected packages. A homeless woman in a doorway, a lonely CEO with an empty apartment, a single night that becomes forever. Sometimes saving someone else is how we save ourselves. And sometimes the best decision we ever make is choosing not to walk past someone who needs help, but to stop, to see them, to offer them one night of warmth and safety, and discover in doing so that we've found the home we've been searching for all along. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that the greatest gifts we can give are compassion and connection, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories about finding love in unexpected places, the courage to help others, and discovering that true wealth is measured in relationships, not possessions. Comment below about a time when helping someone changed your own life, or about learning to see the humanity in people society overlooks. Sometimes the person we stop to help is actually the person who saves.